No.
First time in any beauty center or is this one?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you find it?
I guess I just did a search on Google Maps, I think, on the internet. Yeah. I've been kind of interested in Buddhism since college, and this is my first time actually trying in person.
That's wonderful. We have wonderful. Usually we have a different team with some restaurant randomly usually using that building. He's out in Vietnam right now, so we have means basically
Okay.
Down, working on your job and that part of the project.
traveling with her, yeah, that's the way there and then back and back. Nice to do that.
think it would be better. For the one that I thought that. Yeah. Yeah, I think they could switch. I think the original lines was the one that owned the headsets. That's something I like. Yeah. So you use the headset sometimes, right? The microphone? Yeah. Did you prefer something that was the one that would have it on your shirt? You put it on? Or is it not something that is really, I think you should get like 2 more of those. All the rules. Yeah. I might think about that. Because then you can just shove it out of the way. You have to unclip it or something. Right. If you're, in order to not concur. Yeah. The blue line is easy to. I appreciate that. So maybe that's a good solution. We talked to them.
Recording in progress.
I think there's a couple in there that to the left, maybe, I don't know if that's yours, but by those pink pillows to the left. I don't know if that's it. Thank you. Crisis. And you can borrow that, Alex. You can take that with you. You didn't text me, so I don't know. Did you prefer this or? No. Maybe after the prayers. That's okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just overall. And then if you want to just use it like this, you can. Or you can wrap it around your ear if you have to use both hands. So this might be an easy way to do it.
Test. Testing.
操作的过程，它从磨开始长木头。
Okay, good morning, everyone. In your prayer book, turn to page 1, and we'll begin. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddha. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddha.
Om Dala Dhammapada Jibela Nubara Jibek Tarwa Dan Tam Jin Jimbe Bardo Jobara Jiba Tam Jiji Zoy Jib Ma Nanga Dan Nyambe Sim Jin Tam Ji Dewa Dan Den Dunga Dan Dra Nyordalana me bayan tabara tobe janjarambo je tobaresha.
Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind.
Jida san ma jiji pada lunga yizang wala ko ma je lunga yizang wala ko tu terene zonde nyama san ta zam je pada lunga yizang wala ko.
All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teachings and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Edams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dhakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Edams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom.
Namgen da dai nyambe simjen tam choju tu somje ti shin shikpa tam jeje ko song to yoden chen le tam jeje ngobore jurba juje pongbo tongrai jeje za yin june Paibe gendu tam jeje ngada chenjen zawa tam jubare jib Parden lama tamba namla japsun je wo yedan jinkoro je la so namla japsun wo sanje jamden de namla japsun je wo tambe jo namla japsun je Habe gendu namla japsun je wo bawon kandro jujung zume so yishe je jendan denpa namla japsun je wo
Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path.
Changje nyingbo jiji pare sanje namla japsun chi chudan changje simba ye zolan tejin japsun chi shedan ngunje teje je changje tonen jiba tam Shangje senpe la ba la te da ren pi ne ba da te jin ro la pen dun de shangje sen ne ji 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 te jin do ne la ba ren ba jin do la ba re ji.
In the Buddha, the Dharma,
and the Sangha most excellent. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
In the
Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent. I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sanje chudan soje chonam la chanjo bardo dane japsanje di jesoy jebe zanam jen rola penjere sanje robare sho.
May all mother sentient beings,
boundless as the sky,
have
happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be separated from happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Ma nam ga dan nyambe sim chen tam che dewa dan devi ju dan dembarai chu dongar ji ju dan travar chu ji dongar me bet mandravara chu ji nyeren cha dan yin dan travar Tanyang la ne barai jo
Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcendent conqueror, together with your disciples, please come here to this place.
Banzara Samanza, Banzara Samanza, Banzara Samanza, Malu Simjen, Kunjen, Gonjurjen, Dude Gongje, Mes Yimze Lai, Ngona Malu Jijin, Jenjurbe. Jomden gorje nindre jesuzo argam padyama put debe aloge gende nevde shabda paradisa so.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field I offer, may all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate.
Saji Buju Joshin Meto Dan Rera Lenshi Nyinde Jambanda Sanje Shinla Mede Prawaye Droga Namda Shindu Jebarai Shoy Chanza Wadan Jujin Shawad Jiza Yaran Gorshin Zawaye Gewaya Junse Dage Jizaba Tamji Zobe Chanjo Chermo.
Okay, so now jump to page 11. Namo, to the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the 3 realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the 5 wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dhammakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind, transcendent conqueror of the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men. I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya king. At the time of your birth, leader of 2-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise, even then I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon, to you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you among the three levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth. To the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the three higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And turn back to page 9.
Namo Nasi Namdagi Lama Nasi Shiryen Sanjubambo Kamsan Yondru Zhilwande Gurwa Tangru Zhinjela Jeyi Norwa Zogi Jen Mazan Jumi Jaweto Jembe ye nga dan den zewe dani ga jen roa jumze rembo je da semi je ngane sorwande chuni je ngande jinji lo semdo ne je me namdande Londi juga dobara jinji lo jon dende di jin shikba ga jumba yang takbara do jirikba dan jabso denba dewa shiba inji den jemba jivundurwa kalo ijur Lana me ba la da me nam je tom ba nya me sha ji jar sha ji do ra chama me ba la ngo ra do de ku be jan za lo an ze gan ni zo e ju dan ze sa jen de la kom ba de wo ne Nane jiten denan choje zon te zenge pai chulai chanzala namdai gungan chodo so zon wa yishi janzo zerji lumboin chakban jiten zomna lange wan gomboin choni chulai chanzala Joy then by Chemin Davi Jo, Zendon Rawai Chulai Chanzal, Tudre Chundra Ziba Zonanze, Nyami Chenjen Chulai Chanzal, Menjon Drawai Kaloi Junze Jen, Gunjo Jingwa Junze Tijin Ombo Shin Yu Shulam Ke Nyen Yu Shuba Tala Chanza Lo Gombo Tuje Cheden Ba Tam Jen Jen Ba Dom Ba Bo Sanaya Den Janzo Shi Tiji Shila Chanza Lo Tabin Doja Je Gevin Son Le Shin Jeda Todan Jojo Wa Shijuri Chulai Chanza Chorne Chue Lamya Dan Laba Tala Rabde Jinge Tamba Yonde Shin Kindu Layan Chanza Lo
Okay, and then I prostrate to the youthful Manjusri, To those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times, to all of them without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dhammapada completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible, praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugātas. With the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense, I make offering to the victorious ones. With the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. And to page 14.
Baba Jambara Shona Jawala Jansalo Shini Sodai Chojun Jigdan Tuzon Yeba Meye Senge Dagi Malu Tada Tamjila Ludang Mayi Tangwe Chaji Sombo Jube Malam Tabdagi Jarwa Tamji Yijing Muzamda Shingi Durni Lura Dubaye Jarwa Gunla Rabda Janzalo Dorje Denai Durni Sanji Nai Sanji Ziji Wina Jubada Tadai Chuji Yang Maluba Tamji Jarwa Tagi Kanwamu Tadai Ngabaya Mezi Janzo Nam Yangji Yangla Janzo Dragunji Jarwa Gunji Yoden Raju Jin Devar Shikwa Tamji Dagedu Nezo Tamban Chingwa Tamba Dan Sinye Namda Shukwa Donjot Min Jodan Dubu Tamba Yem Garwa Tadala Ninjubraji Nanza Damba Namda Chenchu Dan Jema Pama Jara Nyamba Dan Goba Chibra Pabin Chokunji Jarwa Tadala Yang Jubraji Choba Gana Lami Jajawa Dada Jarwa Tamji Layamu Sombo Julai Devi Doldagi Jarwa Gunlai Chansaran Jubaraji Dorja Shetan Demo Wangi Ne Ludan Adan Teshin Yiji Jang Bigpa Dagi Jiba Jinji Wa Dada Tamji Dagi Sosoya Choje Jarwa Gunda Sanje Se Ranja Nandan Lobdan Malabdan Drowa Gunje Sunam Kanglayan Dada Gunje Jesa Dayer Choje Jeden Druma Da Chancho Rumbara Sanje Majan Gombo Teda Dage Tamje La Kolo Lana Me Barakur Warakor Yang da kangshi da la nrowa kung la penshin devi karwa jingi durni shubhayam dage dharma rajara survarachi chanzara wadan chushin shakbadan jisu yiran koshin survayi kewa chungze dage jisaba tamche zobe shangche chengo.
And to page 16. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the two vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Sunjen namje samba thang loye chedra chedawa chechon tumo tebaye chujin kolo korduzo. Thank you everyone for spending time here with us and online and also in person. Yeah. So, yeah, if you are new here, I need to chant my lineage prayer. If you know that kind of process, then just whatever you want to do this few minutes when I'm chanting. The purpose here is, of course, this whole chanting is for purpose of changing motivation or at least develop positive motivation. So that's, we've gone through that, and now I'm chanting and you can do anything you want, either meditate or space out or Zum Sanje Dam Jingo, Raidan Jingo Jamso Chabda, Garden Some Doje Danjin Kamsum Juji Jarbo Shabje Modoro Trema Mebalangoro de Gozum Bajambo Gone Jan Zarjin Jabsun Jew Yavane Sarab Jentrin Watan Jindo Dutsa Chembo Gone Jesus Jujin La Baranza Dozo Kongi Sharzon Tavi Mangam Kasran Zamben Don Rajin Zambesa Sandro Zarvin Rokun Mege Doze Tukjin Dama Gune Juren Jiten Zamjin Kong Chabe Tong Pema Garboten and Daloyan Zoro Jon Urjan Song Peme Don Bozer Jarve Namdo Ronjunga Zenzo Beyo Den Zombawe Pema June Dalo Benzo Rojon Shini Tango Shishin Sikbin Chen Sijin Kora Gongshin Rokun Zemo Mambasan Zelo Rokun Denyant Godon Shirba Megon Chun Kalan Zeba Kong Jambar Shunu Gune Gave Zogin Jo Yinro Pema Garpon Zambeshar Lesson was a Donge Chawat Nyinge Mazra Lodron Jo Zerve Yongjeng Age Barmo Daye Jo Kora Tokaran Chin Bongo Yoden Gunjong Gawe Jizers Nyingbo Dongse Pepin Anjurwa Chame Shazra Shabje Daye Jo Chia Gunzeng Jola Jesede Chame Vazra Yongro Toden Musalon Tianam Kenan Jurwa Jimin Bishala Zorwande Jedar Jarvese Poshivala Nondar Trabe Onju Shawa Zong Pangcho Donga Rondrango Jimmy Chuje Wongbo Daye Jong Ridong Jambar Shunu Shulale Kombelong Le Babedor Long To Junze Jansong Adancho Me Pam Yam Yon Nam Jala Kujo Zo Yoden Sanje Kundanyam Nayang Karin Sanje Kunle Lawing Dhammapada la zarvande la sondro velo na chula. Okay, we are learning the Dhammapada, the footsteps of Buddha or Dharma or Sangha. That's what we are practicing. I'm trying to find it. Sorry, 1 minute. I need to somehow this. Okay. If you have a question, we can start with that to warm up our discussion. If not, then we can try to understand what Burman means or what Burmans do. So all about Burmans here. This subject is Brahman. If you don't know the term Brahman, it's a Sanskrit term referring to a Hindi priest or priesthood, Hinduism in a priesthood that is addressing here. Why Buddha is talking about this Brahman? Because 2,500 years ago in India, it's mainly dominated by this caste system, and still does, I think. And the Brahmins are meant to be, there's kind of holy people, or even some translators translate holy man in Brahman. So Buddha wanted to say that the caste system is not good enough to be a good person or good practitioner. So in order to become a good practitioner, you need to do these things and understand mainly karma. And of course, then there is message of Four Noble Truths that also can kind of subsume in these two truths, mainly means conventional truth and ultimate truths. The conventionally, all beings and the worlds exist in their own way. It has function, or they have function. We cannot just erase this suffering and or what we don't want things, but somehow we need to manage through, and maybe later we slowly can discard or can avoid of that. In order to do that, we need to understand deeper meaning, which means we call ultimate truth. The ultimate truth means things look like they exist, but nothing never exists. That is the non-existing part is called ultimate truth. Look like existing appearance part is conventional truth. And the Milarepa say, if we caught in this conventional truth for life, then we never understand the ultimate truth. So somehow we need to understand that the Buddha message of Buddha, and the suffering is the main kind of unwanted subject that since maybe human race exists, we believe in that, and of course Buddha is not different. That the message is we have suffering and we need to somehow discard or manage that suffering in order to do that, I kind of repeating again here is we need to understand this four noble truth or true truth. Yeah. So mainly this true truth or four noble truths include all Buddhist teachings. And now I don't remember exactly what verse we finished. Do you remember, Nathan?
I think we're on number 13.
We definitely covered 14. So I think we're on 15.
14? 15? Yeah, looked like maybe 1 and 5. Okay, I read first and then you can read English, and also we are reading, more people are reading. If Damon, if you want to read, I have another copy that also helps sometimes.
Alternative version?
Yeah, and do you have a microphone? Yeah, here's one. Here's one. Yeah, English is not standardized for our versions, but somehow Pali is, we think, the original source. We don't know, but that's the maybe oldest. And then Tibetan translations we know done in 20th century, so it's not that long ago. And English since then we have, and maybe some English translations are earlier than this Tibetan translation. And what we have, this book is done by Tartang Truku Rinpoche, and this English is based on Tibetan maybe, but also I think they already have the many English editions already exist at that time, so it's not that far from each other. And also Tibetan and other translations seems match, so the meaning or message is we are not going to lose a message through reading Tibetan and English, I think. Kundu jirwa kunji ne kangshin yangsi menjikwa tongman deshin jirwa tena dal chamsichu.
Whoever has cut every tie, whoever is totally fearless, whoever is unfettered and truly unhindered, this one I call a Brahman.
One who has cut all fetters, who is unafraid, who has gone beyond bonds, unfettered, him I call a Brahman.
He who, having cut off all fetters, trembles no more, who has overcome all attachments and is emancipated, him do I call a holy man.
This term, Gunjur, here used as a very tie. What do you have there?
Fetter?
Yeah, fetter. And our daily chanting, we have the Gunjur. Do you remember how to translate this?
Severs the all binding fetters.
Do you know which line is? This must be on page 11. Yeah.
Actually, it's page 12.
12? Okay.
In the middle paragraph, second to last sentence, the thus gone one who severs the all binding fetters.
Yeah, that's one. So this Gunjur mainly means the things that ties you in a samsara. And what is this? What usually we saw, the first verse is talking about the craving or the ignorance that ties us in a samsara. So here, so these endure that tie or the fetter that who can cut these ties is that person is we call a Jamse or the Brahmin. And once you can cut these cravings and ignorance, hatred and jealousy and so forth, then you would not have a fear. That is the main message. And if we want to discuss more what is ignorance is and so forth, we can discuss more. But this is not that difficult to understand. We can read more and more to see. Maybe we can finish sometime this, I'm not sure. Tovi Chava CB Sep, Tetsum Drone, Korjiti, Jibi Gig Sar Sanji Bataladan Tramzerjut. 16.
Whoever has cut through the net of aversion, the cage of desire, the chains of doubt, and all the attendant bonds, whoever has removed the hindrance of defilement, who is awakened, this one I call a Brahmin.
One who's cut the strap and the girth, the thong with its attachments, who's pushed up the door bar, awakened, him I call a Brahmin.
He who has cut off the thong of hatred, the band of craving, and the rope of false views, together with the appurtenances, latent evil tendencies, he who has removed the crossbar, ignorance, and is enlightened, him do I call a holy man.
What is that bar? What does that mean? You say bar or something?
Crossbar.
Yeah, that's
I only know what the crossbar is.
What is cross? You don't know exactly. Anyone know?
Crossbar can be like iron bars that lock a door.
yeah, I would say something like that, yeah.
Interesting. Seems Tibetan don't really have that. That the doubt is like a iron chain or some bondage that tied you. There's not really bar in there. So anyway, here the target is trova, which means anger or hatred, which is the net, which is net of the the hatred is like net, and the desire is like sip is also another net that can catch fish and so forth. That's called a sip. So you can see these two can trap you in a samsara. And then Tetsum, the doubt is one of them. It's obstacle for your or to your practice, because once you have a doubt, then you don't really have ascertainment and also the practice will be not stable. And this, and also the obscuration of any kind of understanding or knowing, realizing that are removed and become a Buddha or Buddhahood. That's called Brahman here. And then 17. Da tang nian la men hong xin, kong xin chuo mi su ber xi, su bi top ji mag de jian, zile dang tam zi ju.
The one whose army is the power of patience, who quarrels with neither friend nor foe, who endures everything without anger, this one I call a Brahman.
One who, though innocent, endures abuse, beating, and imprisonment, whose strength is patience, whose army is his strength. Him I call a Brahman.
He who without resentment endures abuse, beating, and punishment, whose power, real might, is patience. Him do I call a holy man.
Yeah, now we see this real kind of, if we can apply these teachings or this teaching, then it's really the core practice of Buddhist teachings in here. We need to cut off the ignorant, and we need to discard or cut off this hatred, anger, and so forth. And now the actual real kind of day-to-day or daily practice of how treat others, whether you consider us as enemies or whether you consider us friends, but need to treat them without any judgment or any hatred or desire in this way. And then we see here that the patience is the most important practice in here. So one who doesn't have enemies or who doesn't treat anyone as enemies, and however, who has this army of patience. Yeah, that's it's called Brahman. Any questions? This is the basic 6 paramitas, what we call in the Mahayana teachings. You can see the patience and so forth are coming here. And then 18, mental hua de duryu yan chutem dan xing mang den tu, tor xing tami lun zin ba tala dana chamzir jut.
Free of resentment, his practice firm, self-disciplined, determined, and full of understanding. He who is in his final birth, this one I call a Brahman.
One who's not angry, keeping his vows, keeping morality, free from lust, tamed, bearing his last body. Him I call a Brahman.
He who is free from anger, devout, virtuous, without craving, self-subdued, bearing his final body, him do I call a holy man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see 6 paramitas. So I think everyone knows. If you don't know, 6 paramita means the perfection of 6. How to say? Perfection of. 6 practices? I'm not sure about that. Yeah, it's everyone say 6 paramitas. That's why we don't really know how to. 6 perfections, just 6 perfections, yeah, no 6 perfections, okay. And first one is generosity, and then second one is we call discipline or moral ethics, and then third one is patience, and so forth. We keep coming here. So the second one is coming here. We already say patience, now it's moral ethics. One who does not get angry, and turyuk is a Tibetan term. It's not necessarily just practiced, but more austerity practice that is called turyuk, or the brave practice means you can go a little bit further than just normal chantings and meditations and other stuff. And one who has discipline. And then mountain Toba here translates full of understanding, but I'm not sure, do you have that understanding part?
This one it says, he who is free from anger, devout, virtuous, without craving, self-subdued, bearing his final body. And so I call a holy man.
Do you have full of understanding?
No, not on this one. Doesn't say full of
I don't
understanding.
hear James and you.
Did yours say full of understanding?
No. Not in the next verse either. No, there's nothing here I would say corresponds to understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tamed? No.
No, same as
Self-subdued.
another.
That's more like Sultram though.
Tulshin, yeah, Tulva is here, Tibetan has that. And somehow the Tibetan translation has this full of understanding of mountain Tulva as you understand more, you learn well, so you understand the teachings. That is one of them, a component of here. And in the Sutra, I think Paspandu has this Tsul Ne Tu Tang Sam Tempe Kumbhalan Rapt Church. First, you need to have a discipline, and then Tuba, study or listening. Second is pondering or contemplation. And then third one is meditation. So these three are calms. First, you have discipline, that is more often used metaphor as a field. If you don't have a good soil in the field, you cannot grow any crops or anything. That is important. And then you need to understand. In order to understand, you need to learn. You need to contemplate or think about the meaning. And also sometimes we call this hearing or study and pondering or contemplation. First, we need to understand the words. That part is called listening or studying. And second one is the meaning we need to think about to apprehend or comprehend the meaning. That's called pondering or the concentrate on a meaning. And then once you understand the words and meanings, then you can start meditate on the meaning. So that those are important. And very beautiful verse that right in Mahamudra Aspiration by Third Karmapa, and he writes these three does. If James, you can pull out, you can read for us. If not, then next time, or next life, maybe. Could take longer. You never know.
Listening to scriptures and reasonings frees us from the obscuration of ignorance. Reflecting on the key instructions vanquishes the darkness of doubt. Meditation's light illuminates the true nature just as it is. May the brilliance of the three kinds of prajna increase.
Mm-hmm. Everyone understand that part? It's very beautiful verse. These three does these things. Mm-hmm. Okay, then here all about Brahmins. Yeah, we now 90. 买通咱们去心，当看不见这里用颗心，实心都被没哭吧，这里当长子就。
Just as water slips from the flower's petal, and the mustard seed falls from the needle's point, desire does not settle upon the one I call a Brahman.
One who doesn't cling to sense pleasures, like water on a lotus leaf, or a mustard seed on a needle's point, him I call a Brahman.
Like water on a lotus leaf or a mustard seed on the point of a needle, he who does not cling to sensual pleasures, him do I call a holy man.
Mm-hmm. That's quite straightforward, and we didn't. I don't know anyone checked that sesame seed can stay on a tip of needle or the lotus paddle or any paddle that get wet in the water or not. We don't really know that. Okay, 20. 수신되는 당이지 동을 세바 랍듯이 코르는 호신 근조차 텔레당 잠수죠.
Whoever knows the end of suffering, even in this very life, who has cast aside the burden and is free from bondage, this one I call a Brahman.
One who realizes here the ending of his own suffering, who's laid down the burden unfettered, him I call a Brahman.
He who in this very life realizes for himself the end of suffering, who has laid aside the burden and become emancipated, him do I call a holy man.
Yes, these Four Noble Truths, there we have first Buddha say we need to recognize suffering. Yes. Somehow suffering is a very tricky subject, or even tricky subject or tricky thing that it's tricks us to deceive us to say, oh, this morning is good, everything's good, and I don't want to get involved into any problem. This is quite tranquility and nice moment, and must be this happiness or at least very positive situation that doesn't harm us at all. And that kind of understanding or we treat in that way. That is Buddha warn us that we should recognize that is not happiness. And but I don't want to disencourage the new people here or there. It's not saying that you should not enjoy your life, but it's saying that there is Buddha's main message is in a samsara there is no place or no events that are not suffering somehow. Yeah. And here the person who knows these sufferings ending means samsara is ending. So you are no longer in this system, means the samsaric system. You don't need to rely on karmas. You would not involve in bad actions or accumulate bad karmas, and so forth. That's why we need to recognize the suffering, and we also need to recognize there is the ending of suffering. So the whole purpose of Buddha's teaching is the ending of suffering. Yeah. Suffering means the samsara situation, or the samsara is system that build out of suffering. So we cannot have permanent happiness in the samsara. That's because the samsara is created by suffering, mainly by suffering. And one who discards this bondage or fetter or tie that we often see, talk about this ignorant or craving that's create these things. Okay. 21. Kepa samu sherabjan lam tang lama yimbahe choge tong jetoba teladana chamzerju.
The one whose wisdom is profound, who knows the right path from the wrong, who has obtained the most excellent aim, this one I call a Brahman.
One of deep understanding, wise, skilled in what is and what is not the way, who has reached the supreme goal, him I call a Brahman.
He of profound knowledge, wise, skilled in discerning the right path and the wrong path, who has reached the highest goal, him do I call a holy man.
Mm-hmm. So here mainly we need to understand what is correct path and what is the incorrect path. Sometimes I say this not because I know more or practice the correct way, but somehow I train in a traditional way that at least recognition of what is the value of traditional teaching is sometimes important to introduce. I'm not saying you must follow what traditional says, but it's there is a traditional way. The Buddhist teaching, as you can see, is more focused on how really kind of uprooted the suffering rather than managing suffering or some what we call in English lip service suffering that is difficult because suffering is our DNA and our nature, so it's really difficult to do that. But in order to remove or get rid of suffering, then we need to know what is correct and what is an incorrect path. So this means then we don't sometimes, we have motivation that our well-beings and so forth, that if we focus that, maybe we can get that result, but we don't get the beyond that result. So it's important to have the motivation that, or the goal that where you want to go, rather than keep doing it without knowing what you are doing. It's kind of wrong path. And then 22, Chenpa Tang Rab Chong De Niga Lion Jimeshi Nimi Jusing Doba Chong Diladang Tramzerjut.
The one who wanders without destination, who remains aloof from both householders and monks, the one with few desires is, this one I call a Brahmin.
One not mixing either with householders or with homeless ones, living houseless, of few desires, him I call a Brahmin.
He who holds aloof from householders and ascetics alike and wanders about with no fixed abode and but a few wants, him do I call a holy man.
Mm-hmm. Somehow, all Buddhist teachings have this notion of, I don't know if you agreed or not, but need to get away from your family, your village, your town, your country, and your so forth. Disconnect what you're familiar with or what you are close to. But that's also very difficult. Even if you can do that, but also always there is. I say samsara itself, our DNA or our system is already run by this system. We find a new friend, we have new place, new territory that friendly to us and also kind of comfort, giving some comfort. So here, at least maybe some of us come from many thousand miles from home, at least me, Dorje, and others maybe. So you can see, if not, if talk about myself, it's the giving up your kind of relative and family and country is not, if you don't give up from inside, the physically giving up is maybe not that practical. And here it's saying you should not kind of associate with both monastic, what we call monks and nuns, and also lay people. And you should wander or traverse unknown places. Means this is idealized sort of place you should go and how you practice. That's one thing. In 37 Buddhist sort of practice and others, you can see the giving up one's own country or home is the Bodhisattva practice here. That's what they're saying. So this is one main thing in our days, giving up on home, and then maybe it's more difficult than these days. These days you can give phone calls and even video calls and so forth. You are not really cutting off the connection, but more maybe busier than ever could be that kind of thing. And you can see, so traditional teaching or Buddhist practice is not focusing on one's life at all. It's more focusing on a future life and a more distant life. Maybe sometimes then people get disencouraged for doing practice Dharma, but I think that has benefit too, because in order to see the situation of life and understanding what really situation is life helps us to manage also the suffering or whatever problem is. If we just think cover up by, often we say just think positive, think and meditate, then yeah, but the moment or 2 moments or 3 moments, a while can hide by that kind of event, but we cannot hide our nature forever. So sooner or later it will rise. So that's why knowing that suffering is pervasive, and also there is a method to discard that suffering through knowing the true truth or for truth, and then meditation will help us to go through that process. That's my understanding. That's maybe important. If you want to give up country and friends and associating with any, not only bad friends, but also good friends, it's if we really take that, maybe some people get depression and so forth. It's difficult. But the main purpose we know is not just making one day our feelings better or today have good feeling. That's not the purpose. Yeah, we can see that.
Would you like me to read the verse from the 37 practices?
Sure, yeah, by just giving up your own.
This is the second practice of the 37 practices. Attachment towards our close ones stirs us up like water. Aggression toward our enemies burns us like fire. Dark with ignorance, we forget what to adopt or reject. To abandon one's homeland is the practice of a bodhisattva.
Mm-hmm. So this, if everyone probably know this small booklet, not sure if you're new, usually we...
The other building we have over there.
Okay, if you don't know, this very short, there's only 37 verses, and this really precise teaching of the Bodhisattva's practice is a kind of summary of the Bodhicharya Avatara, which is much longer, and 9 chapters, 10 chapters. 10 chapters that goes maybe 100 pages. That's more well-known standard. Bodhicharya Avatara means entering to the Bodhisattva practice, and then here this 37 Bodhisattva practice is summarized by early Tibetan practitioner, writer, and very precisely put in a 37 verses to address 37 topics. One of them just read is need to give up one's own, mainly good or bad associated with the environment and others. That seems important, yeah.
Khenpo, did you say that Tokmei Zongpo, when he wrote the 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva, was it a, how do I say, not a commentary exactly, but was it a referencing the Bodhicharyavatara? Was it a summary of the Bodhicharyavatara? Or was it his own explanation of the Bodhisattva's path?
Yeah, maybe summary is kind of, I think that they say he was a well-known scholar and practitioner on Bodhicharyavatara. And he wrote these 37 Bodhisattva practice. That's why people think that based on Bodhicharyavatara. But maybe I say summary, then it's kind of there is word by word to put together, but not really exactly that. But the notion is that he studied and he practiced based on Bodhicharyavatara, and he kind of internalized Bodhicharyavatara to his own way of expressing to Tibetans. This sometimes it's different when written in a Sanskrit, then you translate in a Tibetan. Is not sometimes not as smooth a language as on writing. You probably know translations in English are different than write in English, maybe English writers, yeah. And even many scholars that often think or saying that the translation, Tibetan translations, which means the Ganjur and Tenjur, I mentioned that there is more than 300 volumes that translated mainly from Sanskrit. And many people think that language is not really normal, kind of not real Tibetan, but somehow it's created in that way. But then my understanding, and I most of the time answer that when I read Bodhicharyavatara and so forth, I don't really feel that this is maybe it's not good Tibetan, but maybe that's my bias. Maybe I train in that very young in that way. Maybe that has become sort of my normal Tibetan language. That could be, but yeah, they have that notion. If you think some translations are not, seems like English, maybe you need to take time to to adopt that English language as Dharma language here. Can you give me any examples on English language that is not really English?
Something that's been adopted into the English language that's not originally from the English?
It's still a little bit strange, but somehow everyone understands.
Sure.
Yeah, that's another one. And anything that combined together, yeah. Like we say samsaric things, but you cannot really put English grammar on Sanskrit, but now people are putting that. So it's become sort of English. Yeah.
Do you mean just terms, or do you mean like the style of writing?
Or even whole book, if you can
Sure.
remember.
Yeah, there seems to be some sense in which it's a very technical language, but I would say it's equally technical for me to read Western philosophy. I have to learn a lot of terms and concepts to comprehend those books. But then there's also some translators have a phrase called Buddhist hybrid English, which is some combination of Sanskrit and English. But again, just like you'd have to study to learn anatomy or any technical subject, it can be quite difficult. And that seems to be up to the translator to decide, do they want to do a literal grammatical translation, or do they want to do something that's easier for an English person to comprehend? And it's all over the map at this point. There's no standards, as you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah. Anything?
I was just going to say, I thought that the translation group, that 84,000 translation group, was part of their effort was to standardize to some degree the translation of Tibetan and Sanskrit into the foreign languages, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I think the difficult part is each translator has own good ego, so it's difficult to attain that part. And until then, maybe impossible in English. Especially right, we are in a free country. Yeah.
Isn't it the case that when the Sanskrit was translated into Tibetan, there were also Indian masters who understood Sanskrit checking those translations, at least in the early dissemination?
That is, yeah, they say they did, but we don't know. So, for example, Rinchen Sangpo is the most prolific translator. And almost this Buddha Vajana means the Buddha's own speech. Tibetan we call Ganjur, and then Danjur is the other Pentita's road, and many texts in a colophon has this Rinchen Sangpo did. It's one person kind of. And people think maybe that's he just advice or some kind of play a little bit role, but mainly did others, but just putting his name in there. So that's why I don't know. It says that, but everything is, some translations are good, but some are maybe not that good. So it's difficult to tell. But however, Sanskrit itself, we call Buddhist hybrid Sanskrit. So what you are saying, Sanskrit itself in India, Hindis, that is also controversial term, but they don't like it because there's no universal kind of one Hindiness that you can see in Indian religion is so diverse that we cannot just say Hindis. However, since Sanskrit is a language that they care more about than Buddhist writings, because Buddhist writings appear in Pali early on, and Sanskrit is another language that may be northern part of the India, and they use these terms that many Sanskritists think that it's not really good Sanskrit, pure Sanskrit, but maybe anyone think if you cannot write like Shakespeare, maybe English is not good enough. So anyway, you never know what they're talking about. But then others think Shakespeare's English is not really English here. Do you agree?
I don't know. It's transitional English from the old into the new English, but I don't know much about it.
to be and not to be. It's, it's the question, yeah. That is not the thing, not English. It's, but from here maybe we start Shakespeare thing, and the Madhyamika or the emptiness part is called to be or not to be. It's not the question in Buddhist teaching, really. Yeah, it's different. We can use the Shakespeare's phrase to emphasize our part, but it's not the question. So keep in mind that.
So Kempala, just really quick, there's a couple of creative contributions to your question about what is not, what has been borrowed maybe in English or is not exactly English that has become English. So Claudia, she mentioned emojis, how emojis now have become their own language, the emojis. And then someone else, Myron Bernie, says RSVP, which originally is from the French. There's another one.
Yeah, this kind of, you probably know, sometimes people think English, if I say that, I'm really accumulating very bad karma, but someone think this English is not good enough to translate these some Buddhist teachings that may be difficult to put in the English language. But another way of thinking is English is the most richest, has most richest vocabulary in any language, and still keep borrowing and keep innovating and so forth. So don't worry about, I would not worry about that part. But somehow we need to adopt it, new terms and things. Yes.
I had a question about this process of translation, of bringing the Dharma into a new culture.
Yeah.
So, for example, in English, it's the case that many texts that were translated 40 or 50 years ago have continued to be retranslated.
Yeah.
And it's really clear that the new translations are much better, in part because a lot of people who originally translated were very based in Christian religion or hadn't really entered into the Dharma and practiced it or received many explanations. They were just interested in Asian culture and traveled to Tibet and translated some of it.
Yeah.
And now some of those translations are updated and they respect the earlier translations as supporting that process. But it seems like we go through this process of retranslation. And I know similar things went on in Tibet, but I'm wondering if you feel, or if in your experience, for example, I know Sakya Pandita translated and commented upon earlier texts of valid cognition saying, well, these guys didn't fully understand it and I disagree with them and here is my explanation. But I'm wondering do you think Dharma also went through a process in Tibet where there were new translations based on a deeper understanding, or was it just different lineages giving their kind of explanations?
I mean, that's truth, but sometimes I'm not saying people don't care, but care less about others criticize because there's less people know Tibetan and Dharma, so it's they translate not carelessly, but it's the less worry about there will be someone will check it's correct or not. But these days it's internet and everywhere, so someone knows mistakes you made. So it's more careful. I think these days people are more careful. But as I said, it's the message itself was difficult to go through, because usually what we hear is what we want to hear rather than what say in a book. And so Buddha and keeps saying that you cannot really concern, or you cannot think about yourself and think about your well-being, think about your thing. But then, of course, people always, most of the time, is focusing on somehow Dharma can help us to manage suffering, reduce our daily life sort of suffering. Then what we hear is a little bit different, it's and then most famous lamas, holiness and so forth, is talk about more somehow how you Dharma make you happy kind of teaching you can get, and that's very attractive, and at surface level it's very nice and manageable. Then readings are shifting, as you can see, all English Dharma books that read in the modern days is everything about how you can get happy, and all the pictures look like they have no problem, but we know we are in a samsara. Yeah.
So I'm curious, are you saying that's a problem in translation or a problem of the reader's comprehension?
Yeah, I'm saying that always you cannot translate culture. Same thing, you cannot really translate language. That's why we called, are you translating or you are interpreting? So, of course, the translation is interpretation. And meaning lost between the translation, because the culture thing, you cannot translate that. And the message is lost because the language cannot, not because language cannot express, but we hear what we want to hear.
Right.
And that's, I'm trying to say.
So even a translator could, what they're working on, try to incorporate it into their own existing view instead of getting at what is the uncorrupted view, the original message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what we hear here is do not associate with other lay people or monastic people. Yes. Then what should I do? I should be depressed myself in my dark room, or just then we don't want to push in at that direction too far. Yeah, it's become sort of irrelevant somehow. But in order to become a good practitioner, we need to be irrelevant, because samsara is nothing to do with us somehow. And then we have full of demons and so forth, and sometimes people don't want to hear. Sometimes people even don't want to hear the Buddhist teaching is a religion either. So it's difficult to the actual message, or what the the traditional message is getting here is a little bit difficult. Yeah. Next one has some components. Kang ki je tang me juwi, jungbo nam la cheba pang, zobar me hi, dek me hi, teladang chamzer ju.
One who never punishes any living creature, either strong or weak, who never kills or even strikes another, such a one I call a Brahman.
He who has renounced violence towards all living beings, weak or strong, who neither kills nor causes others to kill, him do I call a holy man.
One who has laid down the rod in dealing with beings, moving or still, who neither kills nor causes to kill, him I call a Brahman.
The Tibetan here, Jungbo, is kind of spirit that malevolent spirit that go around, and but English translation, living creatures. So you can see already changing the message here, because they don't want to say audience of modern days say there's living malevolent creatures going around your house or your room that may one day they do some bad things to you because they will be angry. And so here is in Jungbos are not that strong spirit, but it's a weak spirit, so that here saying you should not harm them means, but anyway, that's one thing related with our translation that carries message that what the original message and what's what we want to hear. Now that's I think reflects here. And 24, Yevi nang na mi xie xing, yuk tong nong na xiwar du, lemba jian na me lemba, teladang na chamzer jun.
The one who is tolerant among the intolerant and peaceful among the violent, who is unattached among the avaricious, this one I call a Brahman.
One who is not hostile among the hostile, at peace among those who wield the rod, unclinging among the clinging, him I call a Brahman.
He who is friendly amidst the hostile, peaceful amidst the violent, and unattached amidst the attached, him do I call a holy man.
Yeah, these are the practice that promote throughout the Buddhist teachings, and so here really means you cannot just avoid to secluded places to do meditation and avoid everything, and because we don't know what capable of our disturbing emotions are. Sometimes need to see in these hostile places to practice. I think I already mentioned that the Indian Panditas come to Tibet first. I think they don't speak Tibetan, and they don't have many friends either way. But even they got respect from the Tibetans, and they don't have a chance to get angry or upset. So later, some practitioners of Indian Panditas keep monkey pet. Monkeys seems very naughty monkeys, and to make sure that once in a while you need to see your inner qualities that in order to attempt that, you need to manifest first. Yeah. And of course, these are difficult practice. If there is more difficult, that means more benefit to practice. If you overcome this practice, that's another message. And 25th. If you have question, please let me know. And then online or anyone. Okay, good. 看不见的用开始刚性都在写当当，我讲差多，双球吧，他了当长嘴觉。
The one whose desire and hatred, pride and envy have fallen away like a mustard seed from the point of a needle, this one I call a Brahman.
One from whom passion, ill will, pride, and hypocrisy have been let drop like a mustard seed from a needle's point. Him I call a Brahman.
He from whom lust and hatred, pride and contempt have fallen off like a mustard seed from the point of a needle, him do I call a holy man.
Yeah, this line is very easy. Of course, we often talk about these 5 poisons or 3 poisons, the ignorance, desire, hatred, and so forth, arrogance and jealousy, and these things. Those are, we call poisons because it harms oneself and others. That's why it's called poisons. And then 26, the
one who speaks the truth with such sincerity and gentleness that no one could take offense, this one I call a Brahman.
One who utters speech that isn't rough, but instructive and truthful, so that he offends no one, him I call a Brahman.
He who utters gentle, instructive, and truthful words, who imprecates none, him do I call a holy man.
Yeah, that is also, so seems important to talk truth. That's the main message in here. Often say we have these 10 non-virtues or 10 virtues always involved with body, speech, and mind. And the one of them is lying is the non-virtue of speech. So that we need to discard or purify or make corrections on that. Kongi Ringpo Tunga 27. Kongi Ringpo Tunga Tabam Lingni Kangyang Jikten Maji Melemba Taladan Tamzerju.
The one who takes nothing in this world which is not given, nothing long or short, small or large, good or bad, this one I call a Brahman.
One who in this world takes nothing that is not given, whether long or short, tiny or great, fair or foul, him I call a Brahman.
He who in this world takes nothing that is not given to him, be it long or short, small or big, good or bad, him do I call a holy man.
Here you can see this start with 5 poisons, and then what happened. Once we have that, then people could lie or people could steal. So that's why these verses are coming after these 5 poisons. And then 28. Jikten dedan xian de yong kong la chakba xin me ba. Chakbi xin me gunjor cha teledan tamzerjut.
He is free from the very basics of desire for this world or for the next. He is the unfettered one. the desireless one. This one I call a Brahman.
One in whom no wishes are found for this world or the next, without longing, unfettered, him I call a Brahman.
He who wants nothing of either this world or the next, who is desire-free and emancipated, him do I call a holy man.
And here we talk about this world and the next or the other worlds. Other worlds means future or in the past or that other than this world, and we cannot see. But that the main Buddhist philosophy or the karmic system is based on that something we did good things, that's why we have reborn in human, and also we have chance to practice and so forth. And in order to take rebirth in another good life, we need to accumulate merit, good karma. That the basics of karmic system. That's when Buddha established that, or Buddha talk about that. And of course, now maybe this is now kind of repetition, but yeah, we can see. And these days, Dharma teachings have much less about karma, because karma is, people don't want to hear karma, and people don't want to hear suffering. And these are now slowly disappearing, and most books are talk about how you can get happy. Happiness. That's just these days. You can see popular Dharma books are on that. And then when I was in Sarah, there was a Western student who was learning from my teacher at that time. And he's learning Madhyamaka Avatara commentary by Tsongkhapa. And then when he finished this study, that text, then my teacher told us that when this student was going back to, I don't know where he's coming from, Europe or America, I'm not sure. He says that he advised my teacher that if you come to West, never talk about suffering and karma. People would not listen, so yeah. Anyway, that's the other. Too many repetitions, that is one of them. It's a little bit hard to understand the Buddhist teachings without this. At least we need to see what the message is. Even we cannot accept everything, but somehow what's the main message is extremely important, I think. That's why this word and next word and karma and so forth, these are the main sort of message in Buddhist teachings. Then 29, Kāla kunji mejo chen kunshi tetson metrava. Dutsa konda chubata taladan tamsachu.
With complete knowledge, free from all doubt, wide open and unattached, he has one understanding of immortality. This one I call a Brahman.
One in whom no longings are found, who through knowledge has no doubts, plunged into the deathless, not arising again, him I call a Brahman.
He who has no attachments, who through perfect knowledge is free from doubts and has plunged into deathless, him do I call a holy man.
Yeah, the understanding is it's a very important part of the Buddhist teaching. Either we call sometimes realization comes after understanding, or but anyway, that's understanding is very important. Recognition and understanding. Somehow we need to recognize the suffering and then also need to understand what is the cause of suffering. And then in order to discard or go beyond that, we also need to know the path. There is a path, and there is nirvana. That is a safe place to go, all based on understand. Once you have this understanding, then can start practice. And also realization is the most important part that we call wisdom. That wisdom is understanding or realization of the nature of phenomena, or nature of self, or nature of everything we sometimes call emptiness. Yeah? So those are important. And then 30th, then sunam tikvaye toba mo kongipon. Nyange meje dorme tak teladam tamzirju.
He has thrown aside the obstructions of both merit and of sin. He is without blemish, free from sorrow and pure. This one I call a Brahman.
One who here has gone beyond both good and evil, both kinds of clinging, sorrowless, stainless, pure. Him I call a Brahman.
He who in this world has transcended the ties of both merit and demerit, who is sorrowless, stainless, and pure, him do I call a holy man.
Yeah, I think we could keep reading, but it's almost done. I'm afraid that if we finish these, then what we do? So, and also Drupal Rinpoche is coming back, so maybe we need to leave for him. I'm not sure. Whatever comes next week, if he or me, we can go through this last portion of the Brahmins. And thank you so much. And we need to stop here today, I think. But if you have one or two questions, we can discuss that. If not, then until next week.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I think I understand, but I'd like some clarification between the difference between desire and aspiration. Because we have all these aspiration prayers and we express our aspirations. How is that different from desire?
Mm-hmm. Yes. If we go a little bit higher teachings, as that is also part of desire, and both good thoughts and bad thoughts are thoughts that maybe ties you in a samsara. In that case, yes, that is desire. But aspiration is positive thinking. At least if we are praying for some good things. That is antidote to the bad thoughts. So desire often used as a bad desire. There's is sort of negative desire, that cherishing yourself and your ego and so forth. So one is much more for others, is aspiration prayers are, you can see the king of aspiration, everything's for others. And desires mostly, I want nice Dharma sharing room. And most of the time in a very crowded place, people fight for where you sit, Dharma teachings, what kind of cushion you want, and these are important for them than others. So it's yet in a conventional level, or we can compare that, then aspiration prayer is for antidote of desire, I think. But however, these two are sometimes we need to go beyond clingings on anything, even nirvana, then it's kind of bondage. Also, it ties you in a samsara.
Thank you.
I think, no, okay. Okay.
I had a question. Hello? Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
On
Sorry,
the,
I cannot see.
if you hear me, that's wonderful.
But it's fine.
If,
I can hear. Yeah.
on the question of stealing or taking what is not given, if somebody is, I'll turn on my video. Hi. If you find something and you pick it up, nobody gave it to you. You could say the universe gave it to me. Or if you come across a tree with fruit on it and you pick the fruit, is that stealing? Is that taking what is not given? Does there have to be a human giving to you for it to be okay?
Yeah, I think that these kind of rules or culture norms that first we humans made, it's what is right and what is wrong. So we humans think if you plant a tree and bear fruit and you are picking up from them, is most cultures think maybe it's right, but maybe some cultures not. But most cultures think it's right. If you pick up from neighbor's tree, then that's not good. So that I think depend on what really are. But then, of course, these conventional rules are based on man-made rules, and that doesn't necessarily mean if man-made we can ignore everything. No, it has own function, and we need to follow that. That's why if stealing or taking that without giving is depend on what condition and what circumstances and from where.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so dedication, short dedication.
Okay, so in your prayer book, turn to page 24 for these short dedication prayers. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Rakumpa, Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you.